Now, I've lived in Dubai for 4 years. And as a property professional, everybody expects me to paint the city perfectly because if I do, it's great for my business, right? Now, I cannot thank Dubai enough for the success it's brought me, the lifestyle, and everything of the above. But of course, like every other city, it has its flaws and it's not for everybody. And now everything I'm going to talk about in this video is from first-hand experiences or experiences I've seen other people go through. So in this video, I want to share with you the unfiltered day-to-day life of living in Dubai that most people won't tell you, and then also how to properly prepare yourself if you do decide to move to Dubai. Let's get into it. So the first subject we're going to talk about is about living costs, and they add up fast. You know, I've lived here for 4 years, so I've seen where my money gets spent. And there's the obvious things like, well, Dubai is a very convenient city, all right? So the first thing that you're going to do is spend a lot of money on, you know, paying for deliveries. You know, I can tell you right now, if you forget, oh, I need some milk for my coffee, oh, I need to buy some toilet paper, oh, I need to buy this. Well, there are so many apps that you can just download and then order, and then all of a sudden, this delivery comes in between 9 and 15 minutes at pretty much any time of the day, okay? Even in rush hour, it might only take 20. So for that reason, you'll notice, wow, I've spent this much every day. You know, sometimes you'll end up doing 3 orders on that app per day because you've just, you know, gone a bit overboard and forgot things and been rushing around. Now, that's like a small nominal fee, but then the bigger fees lie in things like school. Dubai actually has one of the highest school fees in the world. Now, that does reflect on the quality of the schools. You know, kids are very well educated here. And I think, you know, as a European or UK, let's say if you're an end user moving to this city, there are so many contributing factors why you would be happy to pay that. For a start, you don't have to worry about your kid being in trouble, walking home from school alone, you know, scared they might, I mean, sorry to say it, but get stabbed or, you know, robbed, who knows, you know? So besides schooling fees and the everyday costs that add up, you've also got rental payments or purchasing properties, you know? When you first come over to Dubai, you know, you may want to just get into a community and start renting out. Well, your rent costs are going to be really, really high. You know, an average 3-bedroom townhouse or 4-bedroom townhouse is going to cost you somewhere between sort of 250 and 300,000 dirhams per year in a good location, even up to 350. To put that into context, that's like 50 to 65,000 pounds per year on rent. Now, of course, depending on who's watching that video, that's either going to affect you or it's not. But, I mean, I think it's just good to sort of give out of this information in general because when you first come here, it is a bit of a shell shock. And remember as well, you know, rent payments are sort of paid, you know, in 2 payments, 3 payments, 4 payments per year. It's not like a monthly thing, no. So you've got to put a lot of money down. Then the deposits, the DWA, which is electricity and water and gas. You've got a lot of different things going on. Then you might want to furnish the property. You know, before you know it, you might be putting down, depending on the size of your property, you could be paying 200-300K just outright, dirhams, you know, so 40-50 grand just goes like that. And that's before you do anything, you know, that's just to move into your house. So these are things, and what I recommend to anybody is, you know, speak to a professional before you come or speak to some friends that might have been here and just get a bit of a detailed budget. Make sure you've got a good safety net when you first come. Like I said, I've spent 4 years in Dubai and I've researched all aspects to help improve, well, not only my client success and investment portfolios, but also making sure that they are investing in the right properties to live and have the lifestyle that they want. And we spend so much time and research on this because this is why our clients keep coming back. And I've actually created a free WhatsApp community. So all that you need to do is join below, all right? And we'll send you weekly updates and opportunities inside the market, which will be very useful if you are looking to invest in the market. Another mistake that I've seen people make is choosing the wrong communities to live. So if you're a family relocating, and the reason I'm talking about family so much is that I actually deal with a lot of people who come over here with their kids. So this video is probably very relatable to those. So when you first come to Dubai and you move into a master community, are you going to be going to that school that's around there? And this is something you should plan for before, because I've seen it a lot of times. Let's say you've got one area, let's say Arabian Ranches, which is in the Imar community, about 25 minutes out from the main marina side, downtown location. And there might be a school close by, like a GEM school or, you know, a JES school. You know, it depends on which or where you want to send your children. Well, on the map, there might be a school quite close by, but what if that school's full? Because there's a lot of applicants. These schools are filling up fast. So then all of a sudden you've got to take your kid to school, which is 35 minutes away. And that's without traffic. But then there's traffic because, let's be honest again, when you come to Dubai for the first time, there's a lot of people here, all right? So you imagine everyone's going to school at the same time, you'd be stuck in traffic for 45 minutes every single day, going there and coming back, and that's stressful. It is. Even for me, I live in Dubai Hills, and the reason I chose Dubai Hills, it's convenient for my location. Where I live costs a lot of money. I could have chose a location further out. I could have lived further into, inland into one of the communities which was a bit further away, Town Square, the Valley, the Mac Hills too, if I really wanted to save a lot of money. But for me, I need to get to places fast. I need to be in the center of the map. I need to be able to go to downtown, go to the marina, go to the Palm, without stressing that I'm miles away. So these are the things you need to consider. And that's why I say, when you first come, try to get a bit of a feel for, you don't necessarily have to go and live in all of the communities, but at least drive around them and type in on your map, all right, where are we going to go to school? Where's the closest supermarket? Supermarkets, well, you've got delivery, so that's not a massive thing, but let's say you want to spend a lot of time in downtown, or you like going to DIFC, the financial district for nights out, or you like going to Palm Jumeirah for sort of fancy dinners. These are all things that you need to consider because they're quite far away from certain locations if you're going in at the wrong time. So it's about choosing the right community, because if you get that wrong, you're going to be kicking yourself and you're going to hate where you live. And I've seen that happen. People get stressed out and they're like, I hate Dubai, I don't want to live here anymore. This community is not right for me. There's not enough kids for the children to play with and all this kind of stuff. Now, that's not necessarily the easiest thing to find out how many kids are living there, but generally in all the master communities, there are a good group of children in all of them. So if you do have other children where you want them to mingle and meet people, then they are the best options. But again, just make sure you're ticking all of those boxes, making sure you're close enough and it's convenient enough to where you need to be. So now we've talked about communities. Now it's about actually trying to find a house that you want to live in. And it might not be a villa, it might not be a townhouse, it might be an apartment. And as an outsider, you're trying to constantly sort of figure out, where is the best places? How do I know that where I'm going to live is actually going to be somewhere where I can envision my future self being? And it gets quite tough. And let's start with apartments. Depends if you value space. If you value space, then you might have to buy an older apartment or rent an older apartment, because a lot of the new stuff is a lot smaller. So if you're used to living in a lot of open plan space, it's unfortunate, but a lot of the newer apartments, the nicer buildings, they've been built smaller. So then you need to think, all right, well, how am I going to get over that? Am I just going to have to accept that the building facilities aren't that great, but I've got a nice big apartment, maybe I can do a small renovation? Or maybe you just hate the fact that the swimming pool is old, the gym is not good in the building, and you need something newer, but then you will have to sacrifice on the size. And think that's important to then go and do the viewings. Imagine yourself living there, Go and reach out to agents from Property Finder where you can go and see and get a feel. You need to put yourself in the shoes of yourself actually living there. And then also, where is it situated? So again, when we talk about apartments, I've seen people, buy apartments or live in apartments where they're quite close to the proximity of the main roads, like the E311 or the Sheikh Zayed roads or, the Al Ain roads. These are huge highways. So there's a lot of road noise, so much traffic, so much dust, so much pollution. And people don't like that. Over time, you don't sit on your balcony just gets dusty all the time, and then it might not be for you. Okay, and then the quality of the developer massively matters as well, because you don't want to be buying into or renting into a property where you can hear your neighbor sneeze, because I've done that before. And there are certain buildings from certain developers in locations where I'm just like, oh my God, that's so much. When it comes to villas, same thing. If you're buying into a villa or renting into a villa and it's overlooking a main highway because the rent's cheaper or you're purchasing it cheaper, that highway will start to annoy you. So I always say, I live in one of the Dubai Hills communities and I live internally. And internally works perfect. It's quiet, it's peaceful, it's relaxing. And then also figuring out the space. If you come into buying a villa and let's say it's a bit boxy, the kitchen's closed off, then remember, if you own the place, you can do a small renovation. You can create your dream homes. Just because on paper it might be a bit old and there's a certain few things you don't like, then yeah, you can change them. These things are doable. That's again something that you deep dive into. So firstly, find the community and then find the home. And that's where you need to really do your due diligence, because if this is going to be a long-term play and you're coming from somewhere like Europe or the UK or somewhere, even Australia, where I get a lot of clients from, and you're used to having a lot of land and, this big open plan, everything and lots of greenery, it's a lot different in Dubai. It is a lot different. It's a shell shock when you're in a desert. It's in a hot, dusty desert. But over time you adapt and then you find your peaceful way of life. I love living here, but it took me a long time to navigate through and figure out exactly what I wanted to do. The next point is social life and relationship building. Dubai can be a lonely place. If you're coming out here to work hard, focusing on your business, it's all well and good, but you don't want to be in a situation where you've got no one to call on the weekends, meeting up with people. You find yourself a bit lonely. You could be watching this and you could be coming over as a single individual, or you could be coming over here as a couple and you've got loads of friends and family back at home. I didn't have a huge group of friends, so for me it didn't really bother me, and I've already traveled around a lot, so for me it wasn't a big thing. If you're leaving like all your friends, you know, you might have an amazing relationship with your parents or, you know, your brothers, your sisters, your aunties, your uncles, and then you come here and it's like, okay, we're here, it's a bit lonely. Now the good thing is though, Dubai is a very social place because there's a lot of people that feel like this. So I don't know whether you're into fitness or whatever you're into, but there are generally groups for everything. The fitness culture in Dubai is massive. You know, I do a lot of stuff in my triathlon training. And on Saturdays, there's like hundreds of bikers out, people running, people swimming. Then there's like big groups where you can join. I'm in a men's community group where, you know, every Sunday we meet up. You know, we have a coffee, we go for a run down the beach. And for me, this is where I've met a lot of good connections. This is where I feel, you know, this is a part of my life which is important to make sure I'm socializing and relationship building. You know, if you're single, I mean, there's plenty of people out here who are single as well. I have a fiance, so for me it's a bit different, but we met out here. We got into a great relationship and everything's been great. So it is possible to build that out here, and I've made some lifelong friends. At first it might seem a bit empty, people might seem a little bit, I don't know, I'm not gonna say arrogant, it's definitely not as a cold environment as like a London going on the underground, or being in the city centre where it's like no one will even look you in the eye. You know, I don't feel like it's like that at all. I encourage everyone to come over here, start building those friendship groups, you know, going out, meet people, join these other things, these events, because there's so much going on. It's a busy city. The population's almost at 4 million. It's absolutely insane. The growth is crazy. I think a big one is the weather. Dubai's weather for 7 months of the year, or the UAE's weather in general, is pretty unlivable. Okay, and when I say unlivable, okay, take that with a pinch of salt. I lived here. I've lived here for 4 years in the summers. But I like to go outside. I like the greenery. I like the fresh air. 6 to 7 months of the year it is hard. Now, I'd say 5 months of that is like unbearable, where you don't even go outside in the evening. And then, you know, in October and November, which we are right now, and this video is being recorded, you know, now I can go out in the evening, you know, wake up in the morning, I feel that cooler breeze. And then up until around, let's say April, it's perfect. May starts to get hot, June gets really hot, July, August, September, forget about it. It's too hot, all right? Now, that's not saying that, you know, oh, I need to leave at that point. You just adapt. In the UK, if it's like slamming it down with rain, or France, or wherever, the Netherlands, and it's raining all the time, well, you don't go and have a cold beer or a warm coffee outside, no. You don't, you generally go inside. That's kind of normal to do that, right? Now, the only difference is, you know, if you want to go on a nice, crisp, fresh, cold air walk, that's not going to happen. So that's something you need to get used to. But, I mean, if you can balance a life between Dubai and then Europe in the summer, take advantage of the tax benefits, and then go and stay in summer in Europe or the UK for a couple of months, that's the dream life, isn't it? That's what I would recommend. But just be prepared, because it's not like 4 months of the year it's bad. It's, you know, between 5 and 6 months, it's very, very hot. Now, the cultural and law differences. Now, obviously, we're in a Muslim country, so there are many more laws that are different from other places around the world. But, you know, one thing that is, you know, a bit of a misconception, which a lot of people do have, it's like, you know, women can't wear, let's say, short skirts and tight crop tops and walk around a mall. Now, I'm not saying out of respect that you should do that, but you'll be fine, you know? I mean, at the end of the day, things have changed significantly. We live in a very Western society now in Dubai as a whole. That's how they've created it. Like, if you just give your, you know, your wife a kiss on the lips in public, just like a quick peck, it's fine, you know what I mean? If you, I don't know, if you were like going for it in public and everyone could see it, then that's totally different. But if we just, you know, if it's just something, you know, very sort of like, you know, holding hands in the mall and stuff like that, no, it's not anything out of the norm. And then, you know, there are things though you want to be careful of, like, for example, you know, let's say in the UK or Europe or whatever it is, you know, people take videos of things all the time, you know, let's say people falling over, people getting hurt, you know, crashes, all this kind of stuff, posting it online, and nothing really bad is going to happen, right? You know, it's just going to get a lot of views, a lot of attention. But if you start defamating, you know, the government, or, you know, you start kicking off about certain things and, you know, like putting down businesses and really causing harm to people online and in person in Dubai and the UAE as a whole, then you'll be penalized. You will. It's a crime. And what I really like about it, though, is that people respect that law. Have you seen how Keir Starmer in the UK is slammed down? Everybody is talking about how bad he is, what a crappy government they are. You know, the UK's falling to bits. And in Dubai, we just saw a video the other day, a lady walked in front of the Sheikh Mohammed, and he actually stopped his bodyguard and like let her pass out of pure respect. You know, you admire what they've built. You know, you can only appreciate that 50 to 55 years ago, this place was like just sand with very little going on. And now what they've built and like how they built their society and their government and everything like that, it's incredible. It's a true show of leadership that people respect. And, you know, as long as you come here and respect that law, going out in bar fights and doing stupid stuff like that, well, yeah, you are going to be penalized a lot worse than you would do in the UK. And that's something that people respect, you know. At the end of the day, you don't see like young kids drinking on parks, you know, on drugs in the, you know, in the suburbs, and then, you know, walking around at night, you know, worrying that something might happen. You don't get that. So, you know, that's just something you need to consider. Just respect the law. And a lot of people don't know that. So just like clearing up the misconceptions, you know, about the certain little things, you know, you'll be all right. So there's one thing about transportation challenges that is always going to be a bit of an issue in Dubai. I mean, as per the 2040 vision, they want to build like an urban style community where everyone can commute, and the layout of the land is a lot different. Cycling more places, taking more, you know, public transport. But right now, the city was never designed for this capacity of population. You know, right now, you cannot get anywhere unless you get in a car. The public transport is quite poorly, you know, made right now. I mean, they are improving that on a daily basis. You know, they're building the new metro links. They're doing so much for the infrastructure. But as of today, I mean, you can only really go down the Sheikh Zayed Road and to a few other parts of Dubai on the metro, which is not very useful. But let's say as well, you know, going from Dubai to Abu Dhabi or other Emirates, well, you can't, you have to drive. But they are building the Etihad rail. That will actually be completed in 2026 to go to Abu Dhabi, and then around the UAE thereafter. You know, in 2030, I think it's going to be mostly done. But that's something you need to consider. You're going to have to come out here and you're going to have to drive, and you're going to have to adapt to the way of driving. And it's a bit chaotic, if I'm honest. You know, I was terrified when Layla was going to start driving, because I was thinking, oh my God, how's she going to do this? You know, she's going to be driving around. Everyone's like cutting in. It's, you know, you imagine you've got all like nationalities, you know, you've got all of the Arab countries, you've got India, Pakistan, you've got China, you've got Russia, you've got all these nationalities all driving their own way. I feel like UK are pretty, you know, pretty calm drivers. You know, we say thank you to everybody. I mean, even in Europe, it's pretty much like that. Over here, it's in and out, beeping, who can get in, cutting in lanes. It's just chaotic. And you do see a lot of crashes. And also, let's not forget, it's extremely busy. That is gradually improving. That's the beauty of the city. You know, we do see new overpasses always being constructed, roads being widened. Again, all the new metro links being put in and implemented. But I think for the next couple of years, it needs to catch up to like the population growth, which we are slowly seeing improve. That's probably going to get to at some point. And the last one I wanted to touch about is property investment considerations. I've not really talked about that in this video, and that was not the intention of this video. The intention of this video was to give you, you know, honest experience and sort of give you an idea of life and how it feels in Dubai. But you know, the property investment considerations, I mean, it's so confusing when you first come here. You don't know whether you should live or, you know, and buy that place. You don't know whether you should rent, and you don't know what areas are the best to invest in. How can you create this cash flow portfolio? And that's why me and my team have, you know, dedicated so much of our career to building, you know, strategies for overseas investors who are moving to Dubai for the first time, and, you know, diversifying into different Emirates, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, other places where we feel there is a lot of opportunity in different segments of the market. And that's what we specialize in. And I'd be more than happy to speak with you on a call. Me or my team will be there and we'll take you through step by step. Now, if you're thinking about putting your money into Dubai, make sure you watch out for my next video where I'm going to talk about 3 critical questions you should ask before investing in this market.